Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Couch Cat Podcast. I'm your host Ryan, and I am joined today by one of my best friends, Trung. What's up, Trung? Welcome back.
Oh man, it's great to be back in this studio. It feels very homey.
Dude, this is this is a grade A studio, right?
I know, right? Dude, I literally could just like take off my shoes and just put my feet on the table.
Well, you should do because we don't wear shoes in the house here. But you like that neon sign that says you're a loser?
Oh man, it's great. It really hits home, you know.
But yeah, thanks for being here again, Trung. We have another episode for you. This is like I'm just going off I'm picking apart. I was just telling Trung this off air, but in our luxurious studio. But we're just like I'm just picking apart our childhood because there's some good stories. But yeah, in this episode, this particular memory, it's gonna be about JRPGs, which is Japanese role playing games. But before we get in the nitty gritty there, it is a Sunday night. It's getting a little late. I'm getting a little sleepy. But yeah, how's your night going so far, Trung?
I mean, nothing really eventful happened considering I'm 3 hours behind you guys. It's still kind of day-ish here.
That's right. You're constantly living in the past, and you can't
Yeah,
let it go.
yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's why you keep looking up at the sign, right?
I wish to be a time traveler.
Well, my night's pretty good. I just had sushi. Like my fiance just got a coupon from Uber Eats, like take
Oh, yeah.
$12 off. So we picked one of our favorite sushi places, and dude, it hit the spot, man. Like I had, what was it? I had crunchy yellowtail, which do you remember that anime? What was it, like Zach Bell, where he was always eating
Zatch
the
Bell?
giant. Yeah, that one. Yeah, like the children, like the children dolls had like powers,
Yeah, yeah.
and he always had like yellowfin tuna in his mouth.
Yeah, because he like fished it or whatever.
Yeah, all the time. So like I got that because I immediately thought of that anime, and I got shrimp tempura, of course, and then we split the Alaskan roll, which is just I think it was crunchy spicy salmon. So it was good. I am full and I'm feeling good,
That's
but
good.
I wanted to share that with you to boost my own morale, so to speak.
That's fine with me.
Perfect. So yeah, I guess we better talk about the episode topic.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so I was talking about JRPGs or Japanese role playing games, JRPG for short. Um, and what is that? Well, basically that genre of games gained notoriety in Japan in the 1980s. Um, they're more what the difference between like JRPGs and westernized RPGs is that they're more story driven. They're very linear. A lot of the times they're anime-esque graphics. The dialogue is very fleshed out, very deep. What we call a wall of text. Like a lot of games are focused heavily on the dialogue, which I'm not complaining. Whatever, I'm down for that. And then also, this is just kind of like my perspective on it, but they have very diversified settings. So think of like it's not just like if you think of Western RPGs, I mean you get all types of settings, but I really think like the like apocalypse and like medieval setting is like the standard, right? Like you don't really see much beyond that, but JRPGs you can easily get fantasy, like space fantasy and modern times or like a range of time periods, and the stories can be completely insane. Um, like think of like Persona, right? Those stories and whatever. But yeah, that basically just think of it as a Japanese role playing game that's heavy on the story side. Um, and Western RPGs, just quick difference here is that they're very player driven or said to be player driven. So that's why you see on our like on Western RPGs like Fallout and things, or even Cyberpunk, even though foreign studio, it's very create your avatar, have your own choices, uh, and be think you have a hand in changing the story through your dialogue and actions. But yeah, very very player driven, very open world, and player choice. But yeah, so basically this episode, the episode before this, when I brought Trung onto the show in this awesome studio that Trung complimented early on, and I thank him for that. We played a lot of games together growing up, specifically free-to-play games, MMORPGs. But, I mentioned back in the prior episode that we spent a lot of time at his late mom's laundromat playing RPGs, specifically JRPGs, right? And I remember, like, because GameStop always had, the trade-in deals. So, like, you were beating them and swapping them out, like, all the time. So there's a large variety of games to like watch you play, and then you let me borrow them too.
Yeah, we borrowed each other's games and books sometimes too.
Yep, yeah too. Oh, like the Doc Hack books. Remember those?
Yeah.
From like Black Rose's perspective.
Yeah, those are really cool.
Oh, dude, they were awesome. And back then they were like, I didn't even know what light novels were, but that's a huge market now, right?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so this episode is really just us talking about. We played a lot, but like just a like each of us have 3 games we want to spotlight, 3 JRPGs that we played while growing up, and we might have watched each other play them or told each other about them, or just playing this genre. Like I wouldn't have played JRPGs without Trung's influence. So yeah, just 3 games that we think deserve some attention. And if someone were to sit down and be like, hey man, tell me about the blah blah JRPGs that really stand out for you, and I have 3 ready to go. Like I can sit down over a cup of coffee or a bottle of beer and look out a window and watch the snowfall and tell you exactly what I think.
Make sure you rest on your arm, like you daydreaming in those animes,
I'm like lightly blushing for no reason. I just always have like lightly pink cheeks. You're paying attention to me. But yeah, so we're gonna go back and forth. And I'm gonna hit it off because I like to go first.
Feel free. You're the host. I'm just a guest here, dude.
That's right. So remember that, dude.
I'll remember my place. Don't you worry.
But yeah, the first one right off the bat. One that's always debated, like, why do they not remake this? Like, why is this not ported? Is Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I'm not talking about Final Fantasy Tactics Lions. I'm talking about Advance for the Game Boy Advance. Published by Square Enix and was released back in 2003 in North America and Japan. This game was the first Final Fantasy game I ever touched, or in the the realm of Final Fantasy, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was the first Square Enix game I played, man. And yeah, so like I said, Game Boy Advance, so handheld. It's described as a tactical JRPG because of the combat. The combat is turn-based. It's a party system. So you're building a party. Like think of what's that one game, Trung? It starts with a D. Is it Disgaea?
Yeah, Disgaea.
Yeah, Disgaea. Think of Disgaea, but not on that scale because Disgaea is like freaking crazy, right? But you build up a party. It's like I think 6 people. I can't remember. Like you build up a party. There's the class system, and outside of battle, there's stories going on. There's a world map where you travel in between towns and you can take on quests. And some locations are triggered. Some locations trigger quests like the main story or like bounties, stuff like that. But once you're in combat, it's very tactical. It's you're determining who you're bringing onto the battlefield. You're determining best courses of action of how to get to the other side. Like because it's a grid map, very beautiful graphics at the time. And there's differing terrain, like height, like waterfalls or just like gradual incline, which gave boosts to like archers and mages and line of sight and all that stuff. So it was very deep in the tactic realm, and the story was very deep too. Um, but yeah, so essentially, the game centers on four children, four like standalone characters. They're not crossovers from like the big Final Fantasy games, anything like that. So that's why before Trung, I didn't even know who like Cloud was. Yeah, I didn't know. But yeah, so it had four main characters that were children, based in a small town. And then the children are I remember the tutorial Trung, like it's a snowball fight teaching you like the turn-based combat.
Oh yeah, I remember
And
that.
like the one friend doesn't like partake because he's in a wheelchair, and I'm just like, man, this is like, what is this? And uh they you get transported after the tutorial after finding your friend with a book, and you're transported to the same. It's got the same name but completely different. It's fine. It's fantasy. It's no longer real world. And basically the story focuses on one of the playable the one playable character out of the four children. His name's March with an E, and he's basically doing everything he can to return to the real world. But everyone's like stopping him. Like his three other friends are like they're splintered in different factions, and they're like indifferent to his plight to return. Like no one wants to go home. But March is like, I want to get the freaking home. Like, I want to go to F home right now, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like slaying bodies, like trying to get home. And like, I didn't think about it back then, but like, dude, I think you're like middle school and you're just like fucking killing people.
Weren't they part of the orphanage too?
Yeah, that's right. I think it was an orphanage. That's why like no one was like, why do you want to bring me home?
I guess
But
they didn't like their living conditions.
no, no. But like you were so like the main character is like so realistic. Like it's like no, we don't belong here. It's not natural to be here.
Sounds like something you would
And
do if you were to get isekai.
yeah, like I don't want to live here, um, with my smartphone anymore. I want to get the f home. But yeah. So like it's really cool. It's an awesome story, and like you're like trying to convince like the other children, like, hey, we need to get out of here. And then like the child that was in a wheelchair, who's no longer in a wheelchair, he's like allied up with like the main enemy faction, and like there's some badass moments, like some badass dialogue where the main character's just like, you're not gonna stand in my way, like you're done. And it's like, holy crap. And he's doing everything he can to bring his friend, his like convince, because the friend that is allied with the enemies, like he's got the magic book, so he's like in total control, like returning or not, right? He's got like the key to go back home. And every time I think about this game, I see the meme all the time. There's a fleshed out Final Fantasy meme, and it's basically like, oh my god, dude, it's like 13 panels, I think. And basically at the very end, like the handicapped friend's like in his wheelchair, and he's like, I don't want to go home. And then March just like kicks him through the book. He's like, you're going home, you handicap, and like kicks him through the book. It's so funny, dude. So I always think back on that, and I'm like, damn, like I wish that like because I've bought like Final Fantasy Lions, and it's just not the same. Like the map's smaller, and I'm not gelling with the story. I know I bought PS Vita, and I bought Tactics Ogre, which is like Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Like I think it's like the same team, and like this they made it in spirit of that game of Final Fantasy Tactics.
I think so.
I just never beat it, but like, dude, the art is like similar, the vibe is similar, so I need to like charge my Vita and go back. But yeah, Tactics Ogre is definitely on my list. But yeah, that's me with Final Fantasy Tactics Advance for the first JRPG that's touched my soul. What about you, Trung?
The first JRPG that I came across was not something that I played, but it was something my friends played. It was Final Fantasy IX, and much like any other JRPG that we're going to be listing here, it is a turn-based game with a really interesting cast of characters. This is the first game that actually introduced me to like the D&D style of classes, like warriors, mages, healers, rogues, archers, all that jazz. This game had those characters and those archetypes, but what really like took my interest were the characters because they were also very different from each other. The main character was basically a cat boy. Uh, the girl was just a normal
Meow.
girl, yeah. And then they had a knight, like your typical fully armored knight. But then my favorite character of all was this little boy who you can't see his face, but he was like the most badass mage you will ever see. He's very shy, he's very clumsy, but once he gets serious, he's like an uber badass with his magic. Like
Is he is he like the standard design of like the blue robe, black face mage
yes,
from Final Fantasy?
he was basically the very like design of the typical black mage you see in Final Fantasy series games.
Yeah, and I read this online comic and I didn't even know it was like I knew it was based off Final Fantasy, but I didn't know like what the pixel art was based off like which game. But like they make Black Mage into like an asshole. It's like 8-bit something and it's hilarious. So it's pretty much the opposite of what you just described.
All right, yeah. Vivi's like super super wholesome and super super nice, and he's always been like he's pretty much all my eternally favorite character, no matter what Final Fantasy game they released. I'm always giddy and excited whenever I see him in any other game, really, when there's crossovers. And that's all I really got for that game. There's not much to really talk about. Like I don't for some of these games that I will list, I do not remember the story because I'm actually from Finland, so English is
Whoa,
not my
dude, plot
first.
twist.
I know English is not even my first language. Hell, Finnish is not even my first language. Vietnamese is. So, for anybody at home, I'm a Vietnamese born in Finland. So my whole origin story is really freaking weird. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's almost a lie. Like you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's just so weird to have this origin, and everybody's always like, "No way, you're from Finland." It's like, yeah,
I think I said that exact thing. I was like,
yeah.
"What?"
And then the follow up joke is always, "Are you finished?" Ha ha.
Oh my god, dude. Dude, show yourself out of the studio for that one.
Dude, people always say that though. Like it's not me. People always say, "Are you finished?" It's like, oh my god, I've only heard that joke 1,000 times. Thanks.
That's what they say like, about 10 seconds in for me. Wait, you're fit. No, anyway. So Final Fantasy 9 for you. I'm gonna hit up the next one, which is just like everything it pretty much like fits the definition of JRPG of what I gave earlier, especially like the wall of text and like the dialogue and the story. So what I'm talking about is Tales of the Abyss, and it's the 8th in the Tales series because the Tales series has been around for a long ass time and it still continues to be around. And they've actually been ported to PC. You can get them on Steam. It's really cool. But yeah, so published by Bandai Namco and had the North American release in 2006. And I think that's when I think I played it on release on the PS2. I also bought it again when I got the 3DS XL back when that was released. Because remember, Trung, like there are a lot of the like there's a lot of JRPGs that were being remade for 3DS.
Yeah,
Like, that was pretty weird.
they made a lot of like, I think Final Fantasy IV, they like 3D all the sprites, and that was pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. So a lot of Square Enix games and like Bandai games, and then even like Zelda was remade for 3DS, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So man, so here's the story. It takes place in a fantasy world, like like most any, but if it focuses on the main character, his name's Luke, and he's a young swordsman. He's pampered, and like the pacing is the tutorial. Like you're just hanging out at the mansion, like you're going through your sword lessons that teach you about combat, and it's the calm before the storm. Like in every JRPG or just RPG in general, that you know shit's gonna go down, and you can't return to that peaceful time unless you create a new save and start over. But so you're hanging out at this mansion, and then um, suddenly or the whole premise is like you've been a target this whole time, and it's a military religious organization, Order of Lorelei, I think is the name. Yeah, Lorelei, and you're supposedly a key to an ancient prophecy. So a lot of stuff goes down. People try to kill you, will capture you, and then like you're banding together with like your mentor. He's a cool swordsman. I think his name was Hawk. He's awesome, and a couple others that you find while escaping capture, because you can't return home. They know you're going to be there, and wars breaking out and all this stuff. But the story pacing was awesome. It was a slow burn. Like there's definitely parts in this game that you could just hit skip, like just skip for an hour. Like some of the parts definitely drag, but when I was young, like I didn't notice that. I just was like I was down to walk across a map and get to the next objective, because it's one of those games where um you travel freely, and then you discover a foe and you enter like a party combat system, but it's active. It's not turn based.
Right.
So like you run into like an enemy, like in the Final Fantasy games, and it opens up a instance, and then your whole party. Like the thing I loved about this game is that your party combatants, they act on their own.
Also, they're AI
So
controlled.
yeah, they're AI controlled. So like I didn't have to worry about what they are doing. Like yeah, you can like active control them, like swap between and do stuff, min max,
Yeah.
or like control their, I need healing here, whatever. But like I loved kind of like The Sims, right? I love just like letting people do their own thing. So I really dug that. And what I also really loved was the group dialogue. So it would kind of like I always thought of it as like the Brady Bunch. Like you'd get to like either before a turning point in a story, or just along your travels, or like after a battle. You all huddle together, and it opens up the panels like in Brady Bunch, and the whole party just starts having this conversation, like these deep ass fucking conversations about like Luke changing, because it's the traditional like he's a pompous, pampered asshole, but then he becomes like selfless and like honorable, and
More
he's
humble.
seen some stuff. Yeah. So he's got that growth throughout the series or throughout the game. But yeah, like these Brady Bunch like conversations about you know the state, because like the war's going on, so like the state of the war, or like Luke is always like, what do you think they've been lying to me this whole time? And like everyone's like like talking about like, does it matter, don't let it define you. Like it was like I was like, man, am I like in like therapy session? But that's what the game stands out to me the most for. Like the combat was rewarding and fun, but also the dialogue was just so cool. It was just so cool to sit back on the couch and just like listen to these people, like listen to my whole party talk, and just be like, oh, this is really cool. I don't think I played a game up to that point that was so like the party was so interactive, right? And outside of like set pieces, like the dialogue was so frequent, like the group dialogue,
Yeah.
that it seemed just like a normal part of the game. Like it wasn't really setting up the story any further. Like some of them were for sure were, but yeah, it just felt like a normal part of the game where like, hey, you guys just want to talk real quick, and I was like, whoa, this is cool.
So it felt more like
But
immersive.
yeah, I was definitely immersed, man. But yeah, that's my second JRPG, Tales of the Abyss.
Oh, should I take the seat?
Yeah, hey man, how about you put your feet down and get to talking?
All right. So the next one, surprise, surprise, is another Final Fantasy game, but this one is the one that I
Oh,
actually played.
great.
It's this one I actually played. It is Final Fantasy
Wow, fun.
VII. But keep in mind, at this time, I still did not speak English, so the finished version
Dude,
is still in English.
did you say this in the notes actually?
Yeah,
I didn't speak English.
I still don't speak English.
Sorry, man. Go on.
Sorry. I'm sure a lot of people will know about this game. It's plastered all over the freaking place. They had a remake, I think this year or last year. Either way, a lot of people will be familiar with this game. It is the main character is just like any other Final Fantasy game. Really usually tends to be an edgy boy with a big ass sword or some kind of weird gimmick to their sword.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. So in this one, it was Cloud who just hated everything. I related to that at the time. No, I don't. But
Oh my god.
the game had like any other JRPG, it had a turn-based system. But what was really revolutionary at the time was the graphics. It was, I think, the first Final Fantasy game with 3D graphics, even though it's all blocky and stuff. Like, to us freaking boomers, that was really impressive back at the time, okay? This is on the PS1, yeah. So it was revolutionary for us at the time. And they had the combat also made a new gimmick because every Final Fantasy game has like its own little gimmick. This one had materia. Materia function in this way that when you equip it, that's your spell. Like any character can use any spell, but the more you play with that materia, the more AP you get, which in turn translates to making it stronger. Like the material levels up much as your characters as your characters do too. And then there's also different materials for not just spells, but like things to enhance that spell. Like there's an all materia, which makes it so that your spell can now hit all the targets, or like increase damage, reduce mana cost, yada yada yada, all that stuff. But the character, or the thing that stood out to me about the game was there's a character named Red 13, and I don't know, it was just so weird to see a dog being a part of your party members, and he just struck out to me. And yeah, he's just one of my favorite characters too, along with Vivi. He definitely doesn't take the spot of Vivi because Vivi's too wholesome, but Red's up there, and he's cool. And I always like the color red, and he's got a little fire thing on his tail. I thought that was cool as heck too.
a faceless mage and then a dog with fire on his tail.
I mean, there's a freaking mascot as a party member in Final Fantasy VII too. Like it gets weirder.
Yeah, and this is like the iconic Final Fantasy. Like you got Cloud, you have Sephiroth, you have Cloud's main boo.
He was Aerith.
What was her name?
He was Aerith,
Aerith,
and then he became Tifa.
Right. Yeah.
Because Tifa's your childhood friend, and you know how that goes.
Due to an unfortunate accident.
Yeah.
Where someone falls on a sword. But
since I didn't know the story at the time, I had to discover it later on. I found out that he was like having manic attacks and stuff because of Sephiroth's influence. Like the story later on that I discovered about it was actually really freaking deep and really interesting. Like it's probably my second favorite Final Fantasy game. I think 10 takes a spot just because I played it so many times, and I really love the Spear Grid system of 10. But that's not what I'll be talking about today.
Dude, that was professional.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we were just talking about, but I'm down to play the remake. I know it's gonna take forever because they're blocking it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm down to actually experience that for the first time. And see what it's like, see what the hype was all about.
Just a heads up. The remake kind of changes off the story from the original one a little bit. Not too much, but it does deviate just a little bit. Like you'll see when you play it, but I played it recently. They did everything right. Like for a remake a remake, it was perfectly done. The characters all play very differently. The characters feel very original to the game. They respected that. The gameplay is different. It is not turn-based anymore, but it still felt like you were playing a turn-based RPG. As weird as that sounds. It is an action RPG, but it still felt turn-based. Like they did a great job with that.
Yeah, I've watched some plays and some playthroughs, and yeah, I'm ready to take it on myself.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely keep an eye out, especially if I ever get my PS5. It's like side note, I've been monitoring a PS5. Like I don't even want one that badly, but just to stay like busy, I've been looking on instock.com and or .net and like looking at the PS5 and like being surrounded by all the drops, like the random drops going out throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I had one in my cart from GameStop, but it was a bundle. And I just want the discless version. Like I want the $3.99. I'm done. No, it was the digital edition, that's what it's called,
Yeah.
with 2 games, Demon Souls, which I was down for, but then like NBA, and I was like, no. An additional controller for like $700, like plus tax, 750. So I was like,
Jeez.
I'm not going to do that. I let it go. But one day. So if I get my PS5 one day, I'll definitely, that's probably going to be one of the first games I play on it.
I never really cared to buy
Um,
new consoles on the first year. Usually, you want like the first version of
yeah,
the factory consoles
yeah,
are kind of
they're
whatever.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff where like a lot of them don't even turn on, so they have to send it back. But
Oh, that's not good.
yeah, cool. So that's your second game.
Yeah, I'll let you take the seat now. I'll go back to standing up. Since
Thanks, dude.
there's only one chair in the studio. I don't know why. The
Yeah, very luxurious studio, but we only have one chair.
rest of it went
So
to the to the backdrop.
yeah, there's a sign, a nice backdrop on the wall, and then also there's like a not a deep closet, but like a utility closet. So like we open the door, and Trung has to back up backwards into that closet to make room for me to sit and then put my feet up on the desk.
There's a really
Um,
comfortable purple life-size llama in there, though. It keeps me
what,
company.
dude, you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say that out loud. Like people are not supposed to know we have that in here.
But it's so soft and
I
nice.
don't have a license for that.
Oh, well, you better get one.
All right, so game 3, everyone. Uh, my favorite. I will easily say it's my favorite. While Tactics is like number 2, but like Radiata Stories. I know you play, or you at least know of this from.
Oh yeah, I know this one.
Yeah. So created the devs are Tri-Ace. I don't even know what they've done since or during that time.
I know they've made. I think they made Dark Cloud. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. So it's been a while for them. And this was again published by Square Enix, and it was released in North America 2005. And I remember I have fond memories of my grandmother or even just grandparents, because there's 2 of them, giving me this game for the PS2 during the Christmas, like for Christmas. So during the holidays. And what they like to do, they like to give me one gift early. So I actually got it before Christmas. And, we're like in middle school, man. And so, you get like that week, that sweet, like 2-week off from school.
Oh yeah.
So, dude, dude, that year, like that vacation, I like straight up played Radiata Stories and to completion twice, like because
Holy damn.
there's there's 2 paths, and like I rarely do that now, and I rarely did it back then. But yeah, so basically, before I get into that, so basically, the story takes place in the land of Radiata, hence the name. The land it's broken up into multiple regions, and they're linked together by bridges. And you actually, physically cross these bridges. Like they're really cool set pieces.
Yeah.
Because you're actively, it's one of the Square Enix games where you're actively moving on the map. You're not like zoomed out blimp, like Final Fantasy Tactics or things of that nature. The main region where most of the things or most of the story takes place is Radiata City. It's a major city. And how do I say? So like the tutorial is you want to really you want to follow in your father's footsteps. Your father's gone, and you leave your small village for Radiata City, and as to seek to be an apprentice, like a swordsman apprentice or a knight. Oh, actually, a knight apprenticeship to be a knight.
Yeah.
And so you go there. Like you do the tutorial in the village. Like you fight like your neighbor who used to be a knight, and if I remember correctly, the knight doesn't, or the neighbor doesn't actually want you to do it, but you do it anyway. And you do your tutorial. You're like, you get smacked around, and I think, dude, is she the female? character, the main female character. I think she's the princess. Like, yeah, I think she's the princess, and you get lumped into a brigade, a training brigade with the princess, and then this older knight. He's portly, but he's got an awesome two hander. And so basically, you start off as a newbie knight, and you don't really know like the ramifications that will be made or had with the princess in your party because she's a target.
This is one of those things where she doesn't tell you that she's the princess.
Yeah. I don't think you know. Her name's Riley. I don't think you know until it like shit goes down. But basically, in Radiata, there's humans and fairy creatures. So the fairy creatures are like like your standard monsters in a fantasy game. Goblins and like the animals, and then there's like dwarves and dragons, and I don't know if there's elves in this game, but there's fairies, like there's people with wings
Yeah.
in this game. And eventually how the story progresses, like you're split. Like there's an actual choice in this game, and you either continue on the human side, um, which seeks the destruction of the fairy people, because there's a very loose bond, and you actually see that in like an early mission going to the dwarven city, where you're commissioning like resources for the knights, armor, and weapons. But like there's still like animosity between humans and the dwarves, even though they have a working relationship. So things are very tense, and that's like how the whole plot comes to be. Like you either go down the human path, which seeks destruction, and no understanding, or you go down the fairy creatures path, which is like fighting to restore like the mutual bond. Like the human path is like, no, we're done, it's over, because something is orchestrated to make the fairy creatures look like ultimate assholes.
Yeah.
So they're like placed in the wrong on purpose by a faction that's going after Riley. But yeah, it's so deep, it's so awesome. The graphics are so wholesome and like comfy. I remember gushing over like because there's a day and night cycle. I remember gushing over how like the whole city transforms with like all the lights and like the store shops, like the window lights and the lanterns, and like there's like a bar that opens, and like there's nights that frequent there. Like the game was so cool. And like so the game is all focused on like knights and the notoriety of being a knight, and you're slowly like progressing story, like throughout the story you're becoming more than just a newbie. There's nothing you can do outside of the story to become more than that. Also, one of the big things is that, like I was just saying, the world is very persistent. So NPCs or non-player characters, they have their own lives, their own lifestyles, jobs, personalities, like homes, and schedules. Like every like on different days at different times they're doing something, and you can track them down to get different interactions during different days and times and cycles.
So it's also more like
And
Stardew Valley.
right, yeah, just like Stardew Valley, like you have to. It's almost like you have to be at the right right spot at the right time to kick something off, and usually that's to recruit people into your party. And this is like the first game I bought a guide for, because I didn't, dude. It was a headache. Like, how am I supposed to find this? How do you like? I would find them during the day, join my party. I'm not interested right now. Oh my god! So then it's like, when? How do I get you to join my party? And dude, I'm not kidding. Like, there's like over 100 something people that you can be in your party. So every playthrough can be different. And like the guidebook, like there's like, I think like it's like 5 or 8 pages. I can't remember, but there's a like half, not even half, but like there's a quarter of that book that's just on the characters and where to like how to recruit them.
Jeez.
Yeah, and like I always do. I always like the first intro characters you get, like they're monks. I always made them come with me because like they're so like, one dude's like a hillbilly monk, and who's so like nice and like only cares about your well-being, and then another dude's like a hard-ass monk who's a fist fighter or melee.
Yeah.
And dude, I loved them both, and I always played with them. I never swapped them out, and I should have. I really should have, because they're like the weakest characters. But I loved them, dude, and I loved like going through the guidebook and reading that all the NPCs, because like without that book, because I bought that book like on my third playthrough, I think, but like I didn't know like half the NPCs existed. Because you're eventually like, after what happens to the female character Riley, like you get kicked out of being a knight apprentice and you join like an adventurers guild. And there's a shit ton of guild mates, and think like the anime Goblin Slayer. Like there's so many different people there in the guild. Or even like what is wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon, like all those guildies, like you could recruit them. Like just imagine that. And yeah, so that really stuck out to me, like the NPCs, the party system, and the story, and like the divergent path. And I just have fond memories of like my grandparents giving me that game and then like just crushing it during the holiday. That was a time like I don't know if I could do that as an adult. Like I don't even know if I could get 2 weeks off as an adult and like just blissfully play a JRPG without any interruptions.
Yeah.
Um,
I just
like
don't
having
think
like
we don't think that. I don't think we just have the time patience for that anymore. Really.
yeah, I mean, maybe one day, because I did buy a PS2 Slim when they announced, they're not making them anymore.
Yeah.
And I did rebuy Radiata Stories so I could play it in the future. So, hopefully, within a year or two, I actually get to sit down and play that game and actually, be able to hook up the PS2 Slim to a modern TV with the cables. But yeah, that's game 3 for me. Radiata Stories.
Side note: Ryan's grandparents were great. I think it was your grandma. It was your grandpa that complimented me. He was your grandpa. He complimented my shoes. I remember that.
God dang it.
He was like, "You have cool shoes." I was like, "Hell yeah, I do."
Oh my god. See what you did? See what you did to me? Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Well, I guess on their behalf.
I see. Yeah.
All right, I'll go back and I'll get in the utility closet. You come on out and you tell us about your third game.
Damn, I want to take the llama with me. But all right. So the third game of the night is Kingdom Hearts. It is hands down my favorite series of the game, or series of the game, series of any series.
Close.
And Kingdom Hearts is a crossover between the Final Fantasy characters that we talked about earlier and Disney, of two very odd combinations if you really think about it. But it was fun. It was very wholesome. It was the first action RPG that I played, and it felt amazing. The combat, everything felt amazing. It felt fluid. You had control over your character. The gameplay was really great. The Keyblade was really cool.
Oh yeah. That's so iconic, dude.
Yeah, the Keyblade is super, super cool. I like the Keyblade designs and all that stuff. Getting the ultimate weapon was like the goal. The story of the game was very cheesy. Your heart, my heart, our friendship bond together, and all that stuff was basically the story. It's basically the main character Sora hunting down his not girlfriend Hikari. Let's be real, they had something there. But basically, every single game she gets kidnapped in some way, one way or another. Every single game, without fail. That actually frustrates me.
Meanwhile, Riku is like, why does no one care about me, and turns evil, right?
Yeah, and he basically your other best friend, childhood best friend, Riku, turns evil and kidnaps the girl. Because he's like, this is my girl now. No, he basically wants her heart. Not in the sense that you think. It's not lovey-dovey heart. It's literal heart, but not literal heart either. It's like a weird like spirit heart thing.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then the story was just super convoluted. The whole series is just, it feels like they just added stuff just to add stuff.
Dude, like when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, like first off, no one ever thought this would ever happen.
Right.
But when it came out, and then like the first videos you see on YouTube, like in preparation for its release, like 40-minute videos of like what you need to know to play Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh yeah,
And I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Because it's tying in like all the random 3DS games and like
PSP
all those
games.
games.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, even that. And I'm like, oh my fuck.
you know they released a rhythm game that is canon to the story too. They just
Like
released
who's
on the
gonna
Switch.
play that? Like
Uh,
who's gonna play that if
uh,
you're not hard, besides hardcore fans, right? But like what the hell?
I don't think I'm gonna play that. It's a little bit too much effort just to get more into the story. That's gonna be convoluted as heck.
Yeah.
But realistically, you didn't play the game for that cheesy story. You played it
Yeah.
to hang out with the Disney characters and beat up stuff with the Disney characters because they joined your party, which was great. I mean, your party already consisted of Goofy and Donald, who follow you around.
Hard to replace those two.
Yeah, and then you could get any of the Disney characters to join you too, that are part of that Disney. Like you basically go around to their worlds, to the Disney characters' worlds, like Tarzan's,
Yeah.
uh,
Nightmare Before Christmas.
yeah, Aladdin's, and all that stuff.
Hercules.
Yeah, that's Hercules. But his
and
is
then
more like just a tournament.
What's the Final Fantasy world you go to and you meet the Gunblade dude, Leon?
Well,
right?
there's the Traverse Town.
Traverse Town.
Which is the first town, and then this Hollow Bastion where they all are. Basically, that's the canon place where all the Final Fantasy characters grew up in, was Hollow Bastion.
Okay.
But it gets taken over by Maleficent, and that's
who's the main character? Who's the main enemy? Right, driving. Well, one of the factions driving. Yeah, because then you have like Organization 13 with the whole heart thing.
Well, that's not until the second game. The first game was more about Ansem and Maleficent. Maleficent was the first villain, and then suddenly comes Ansem out of here, and it's just out of nowhere. He's like, "Haha, I'm the true villain."
Yep.
And I want to open the Keyblade, or not.
Yeah, whatever that meant.
He wanted to like do something with the moon that looked like that was in the shape of a heart, or whatever.
And all I wanted to do was like whack enemies over and over again.
Yeah, I just wanted to hit him with these specialized Keyblades that doesn't actually kill, but it kills only heartless.
Oh yeah. Yeah. How to just like it's like Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, dude. It's like how to just fight like middle schoolers with like weapons.
Yeah, Sora was like what, 12 years old. He's got big ass clown shoes, and that's like the only redeeming quality about him. Every other time it's just Kairi. I need to find Kairi.
And like the voice actor is the dude from I See Dead People.
Yeah, Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah, and then the second game, Aaron Carter for Roxas. Like that's some crazy crossover shit.
It was great. It was wonderful, but that's all I got for that game.
Well, I will back you up on that. Just because like we both played the hell out of Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah.
And I remember like even the second one, like you maxing out that game, like flying and shit. Oh my god, dude! Like you took it to a whole nother level. But I will give credit to Kingdom Hearts for one, like the best crossovers like of that era. No one I could not have imagined like Disney, Pixar, and like like JRPG characters in like one game. It was awesome. And it really, at least for me, like for someone who's like the only exposure at the time for Final Fantasy was tactics. Even though I played Square Enix games leading up to it, like I will never forget that moment where you're doing like the Hercules missions and you're in the the arena.
Yeah.
And then like the final boss is freaking Cloud, dude. And I'm like, who the hell? And then he just wiped the floor with me. Like, it took me so long to beat him because this Kingdom Hearts had like it actually had tough combat.
Oh yeah, like it definitely punished you for making a mistake.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude. Like, if you just were not prepared for the fight, like you were not going to win. Especially like in the later games where you fight Sephiroth. But yeah, I will never forget like meeting Cloud after like all the wholesome like missions with Hercules. I'm like, wow, this is gonna be fun. And then he just like ruined my life, and I was like, wow, this is fucking hard. and like I will never forget that. But Yeah, you see a lot. You see a lot more of them. I mean, I loved meeting them in their town and like getting the gummy ship up, and I loved Leon's like freaking gunblade. That was really cool because he has that cool intro where he just shoots like the heartless like right by you, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. And
I
I have
want
a
one of
keyblade.
those.
Yeah, I just have this fucking keyblade. But I will say 2 is like my favorite. Just like the time you spend as Roxas and like, the this like you can relate to it as a kid playing that game because it released like during summer and it was like the first part of that game was summer vacation with your friends.
And then you lose
And
it
then it all
forever.
goes to and it all goes to shit, dude. And it's like, oh my god. And because like the friends like forget Roxas exists or whatever when Sora comes, like, wakes up.
Yeah, like
But that was deep, dude. Like I remember reading the manga because like I love the game so much. I read the manga and like, oh my god, I was like, oh, it still hurts.
I think if you ever watch anything on YouTube for something that really gets you for the Roxas' story, you should look up Xion, Xion. So it's basically like this girl. She was the other person that was with Roxas eating ice cream besides Axel.
Yeah.
So originally she starts off with having like no emotions, no memories, no nothing, and then slowly he tries to get her to open up, be friends with him or her, and then all three of them become friends. But then eventually it ends with you having to kill her because she's actually a fragment of Sora. So if you
Oh my
so
god.
if you don't kill her, Sora will never wake up, and if Sora never wakes up, then Roxas isn't whole again.
Yeah.
Like it's
Great.
like the music for her too was fucking heart wrenching as hell, and the whole scene was painful. And then eventually, after you kill her, while he's holding her in his hands, he forgets of her. Like he forgets her name and
Oh.
all that stuff. And then I was like, holy crap, this is painful. This is supposed to be like a
Like a
kid's
child
game.
game.
A kid's
Yeah.
game. I was like, holy crap, they're introducing this like very heavy story to this character. And yeah, it was just crazy that to because it was really like fucked up for Roxas and her. Like they both don't actually exist without Sora,
Yeah.
and they know that and they hate it. So like Shion accepted her fate, but Roxas was kind of fighting against it. That's why you see
Yep.
there's cutscenes of him fighting Sora because he hates that he's not real and he's just a fragment of Sora.
Yeah, dude, that series is like I have Kingdom Hearts 3, I haven't played it yet. Um but yeah, that game it holds a special place in our hearts for sure. And with that, I thought it'd be cool to do some like honorable mentions, like not deep dives like we did prior. Um but just games that we played in passing that we spent, notable time on. Um and I'll say the first one, the Doll Hack series, like the original with like Orca and Kite and Black Rose, all the way up to the GU series that me and Trung like played the crap out of.
Oh yeah, we both played that one.
Yeah, with Haseo. So
And
um,
Adelie.
yeah. Why won't you notice me? Stop friend zoning me, dude. Come on.
And
Even in the end.
Ovan.
Yeah, I read the light novel and the manga for that, and it like there's different endings, and each single one he doesn't get her, like because she loves Ovan, because like she lets Ovan put her in that state, but whatever. Yeah, so the Dahak series for sure, those were awesome. I remember playing like the Twilight or yeah, it's like no, it's not Twilight, but like kites. Like the kite games were like how effed up it was, like Orca's gone and like how sad you are, and but like how cool it was that game interacted with you with like it's like the Doll Hack series is like it's a game set where you're playing VR virtual reality game RPG. But things go wrong where real world players are like disappearing or actually dying in game,
And
and
then
when they die in game, they're dying in real life,
or they just go comatose or whatever.
or they go into a coma. So like the main protagonist, like his that's what happened to his friend, and he's trying to like fix him. He's trying to like bring him back. And there's like all this deep stuff. Like there's the the anime going on that sparked the game.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, the whole series alone is awesome. But yeah, it's awesome how the game interacted with you. Like in towns, there's like it mimics like online players. So there's like always like speech blurb. Like they're always talking to like vendors or to each other looking for parties. You'll get like online messages and like your fake IM system or instant message system.
Yeah.
So it was cool. Like it's a solo game, but I honestly felt sometimes even the freaking grind in it in the dungeons, I felt like I was in an MMO, and I think it was awesome. And GU just kind of like solidified that with better graphics.
The thing I also liked about Dot Hack, hopefully I don't take too long, is that the enemies were based off the seven deadly sins, which is cool. Like
Yeah,
the whole
like
world revolves around that concept.
yeah, almost like a full alchemist kind of like theme there. Um, but yeah, no, it was sick. Yeah, and like the main bosses are each sin, right?
Yeah.
That you had a data drain ultimately.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was a dark game. I will say it was freaking dark. And then the next honorable mention, haha, something lighter, haha, Star Ocean 2, or Star Ocean for the PS2.
I think that was
Even though
called.
that one starts off like everyone dies, right? Like everyone you know.
Is
So
that called Till the End of Time? I think that's what it was.
yeah, I think so. Like um, yeah, possibly, but yeah, I liked it just because of the story. The story was cool, and then like the action, it was action combat. Um, so I like that a lot. I like action combat, like instance action combat. Um, but yeah, that was like one of my first like like space fantasy games. There was another one for PS2, Xeno something, where like you're a female robot on like a spaceship and everyone's dying and you have to like figure out like it's under attack and you have to figure out why. It was super weird, dude. Like a lot of these JRPGs I found because they're like in the bargain bin at Best Buy, and I didn't have the brain to like understand what the like the fucking story. So I welcome Star Ocean, like very anime-esque, space fantasy, doom and gloom. So I welcome that one. Um, anything to say about that before moving on?
I mean, you've already pretty much said what I know of Star Ocean. Really, it's that it has a action combat rather than turn-based combat for most JRPGs.
Yep. And so next one, Suikoden 1 and 2, the remakes on PS Vita. I bought a PS Vita for all the JRPGs on there. Just like what I was going to say, or the next one, I'm not going to say the name. I almost fucking said it, but Suikoden 1 and 2. I read the manga. It's like super rare. Like you can't even find, like if you go on Amazon and type in Suikoden manga, like the novels sell for like $100 a piece. Like
Oh,
it's just like,
jeez.
because it's not in print, right? And it's not, no one, they only scanned like half the series, like whoever was doing it, and then it was just the scanner stopped. So it's like incomplete digitally. But the games are awesome. It's another one of those games where like you can recruit your party. Uh, a lot of the characters are recruited secretly, like certain story choices or certain quests, like side quests, whatever. You can get party members, things of that nature. Very choice driven through diplomacy. Awesome game. I can't recommend it enough, especially if you have a Vita lying around. Um, and they're like inexpensive, man. I think I spent like $8 per game, or maybe even less, because they were on sale. Like I bought them during the holiday season in like 2017, or no, 2016. So I'm pretty sure they were on sale. But yeah, Suikoden. I don't even think you played those games, right?
I do not know.
Yeah, so stay in the closet there. Next honorable mention, Persona 4 Golden, PS Vita, of course. See, I almost said that name, but this RPG was awesome. I watched the anime too. The story is sick. The setting is sick. Small town, murder mystery, with a twist, going into a different realm through a TV, and fighting for your life. Really cool. Centered around high schoolers and like romance options, and it's one of those games where you choose how to spend. There's limited time in a day, and you choose what to do. Do you want to study? Do you want to go train? Do you want to go hang out with a certain friend to boost like your bond, to unlock certain skills, like you do X, Y, and Z? Just like Persona 5, which is out, and I have not played Persona 5 yet, and I definitely want to play that. And I might save that for the PS5 if I ever get one. But that if I say that, like, oh, I'll definitely play it on the PS5. It like gives me a buffer, right, to like to not play it for a long time because I'm so like I'm neck deep in shit.
Yeah,
But
I have a bunch of backlog too that I don't actually want to go through. So
yeah, you just want to brag like I have a backlog, dude. But I know a new Persona 5 came out where it's like a summer vacation trip thing. It's a standalone game, dude, and it's $60. So I guess people really did like Persona 5. But yeah, Persona 4 Golden must play, I think. Is definitely a must play. Um yeah, and then you have a couple shout outs too, right?
just basically the stuff you already said. I really didn't play other JRPGs mainly from Final Fantasy, really, but the one that you haven't mentioned yet is Digimon Adventure.
Oh, how could I forget?
Yeah, and that is a very, very old school competitor of Pokemon. Uh, Digimon Adventure was just like, I don't know. I played a little bit of it, but I really loved the whole like concept of capturing a monster and then training it. Basically
Yep.
Pokemon. Because I grew up on that too.
And it showed you I know this is like for the PS1. I remember walking around and it shows like your actual Digimon walking with you.
Oh yeah,
And then like the combat was cool. The model, I remember back then. I mean, obviously now we like those graphics, but
yeah.
the models of the Digimon were awesome. The evolutions were awesome, and the
That's the part that got you
story.
hyped was the evolution music.
Oh yeah, yep. And the graphics were like the screen changes. It's
Yeah,
like, but yeah, the story was cool. I don't know because I was telling you I got it for like Easter
yeah.
back then when I was younger. But I don't. Does the story even correlate with the show? I don't even know.
No, it is very different. It is basically you getting like warped into the digital world some one day, and then you kind of just try to find your way out. Much like this show, but it's like a completely different cast.
It's like Digimon Final Fantasy Tactics. You fall into a magical book, and then it's just you and Digimon.
I think this one was just a
You,
magical TV, kind of like Persona.
oh my god, are you kidding me?
I think so. I think that's what it was. It's way too old now for me to
Is
remember.
Teddy in there? Is there a dude
There
in a
is a
Teddy
teddy.
suit?
There is a teddy bear Digimon that you can pick as a starter.
Yeah, there is, isn't there?
Yeah.
uh, yeah, no, that's a solid pick, man. You really went back for that one.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know if people remember what a PS1 looks like.
I don't remember what PS1 looks like. I'm just kidding.
Well, that's all I got, man. Dude, this is like the longest podcast episode ever. It is gonna be hell editing this, but
Not my problem.
it,
It's your problem.
that is very true. Thanks for reminding me.
I'm a video editor.
I don't have a glorious studio for no reason. Like I actually put in a lot of work and
Yeah.
cry over my keyboard. But yeah, like just goes to show how much we love JRPGs that we can talk about it for an hour and not vomit. But yeah, it was good having you on again, Trung.
Oh yeah, it was great being here in the closet.
Thanks, dude. I know we had to I know you had this, you get to sit down, then you get to stand up again. I know it's very productive over here.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I just want to say officially thank you to Trung, and we'll have more episodes for you in the future. Brandon and Alan are kind of tied up with real life right now, so I'm making do and bringing on the B-rated people like Trung over here to help out on the podcast.
My mom would be really disappointed if I was B-rated. I need to be A-rated.
I'm kidding. But yeah. So that's it for this episode. Like always, check us out at www.couchcatgaming.com. I'm not messing up the website anymore now that Alan's not here pressuring me. You'll find everything on our website. You'll find links to our YouTube channel, which just released a new Phasmophobia video. There's going to be a lot of Phasmophobia videos because they're easy to record, and I'm really bad at editing. So expect more ghosty, hunty adventures. There should be more simple MMO guides coming in the future. But yeah, check out our YouTube, check out our Discord channel, excuse me, our Discord server. We just all hang out there. We actually record the podcast in the Discord server. If you ever want to listen to us live, you will be muted, obviously, but you can head on in there while we're, live right now and listen to us laugh and cry and joke and whatever you want to do.
Listen to our soothing voices.
Yeah, ASMR. Welcome to Catch Cat. Anyway, check us out on the Discord server. Oh my god, where we stream games, stream the podcast, and whatever you want. What else? Check out our social media. We have Instagram, Twitter. Those links are provided in the podcast description, and they're also on the website. I think that's it, Trung. I feel like I forget something every time, and as soon as I hit stop record, I'm going to remember.
I think it's just you being paranoid, really.
Yeah, that's a good. That's why I have you around, man. Just to affirm how on point I am.
You're always the greatest. Remember that.
All right, I'm gonna stop it here because I don't want him to go back on those words. Yeah, see you next time, guys.
Later.